Welcome to SWSi Floristry. In this demonstration video we will do a radial posy bowl arrangement. Note that the oasis or floral foam has been placed approximately 2.5 centimeters above the lip of the container to allow for radial side placements to be put into the foam. This is a radial arrangement, so we're going to start by placing some of the viburnum in the center of the oasis and then radiating the stems out at a 45-degree angle evenly around the center point of greenery. I've pre-trimmed the viburnum stems to an even length because in a posy bowl or radial arrangement we want to create a half a sphere form. So if the greenery is the same length, when we place it into the foam, then we'll end up with an overall even shape in the arrangement. What I'm also doing is angling the stems and making sure that the viburnum is pushed well down into the pot below the water line so that all the stems of greenery will get a drink under the level of the oasis. At the moment I'm also not completely covering the oasis, but I'm just making a skeleton of the greenery so I have a shape to follow. I'm evenly distributing the greenery as well so that the whole arrangement is domed and round in appearance from all angles. What I'm going to do next is place some pieces of Senecio into the arrangement. I'm just going to place 3 pieces of this towards the top third of the arrangement just to give a different texture with the greenery, and I'm going to place those evenly around that first upright placement of the viburnum. This will help to create the domed effect and give a different look to the texture at the top of the arrangement. The next flower that I'm going to place into the posy bowl is the rose, because this is our primary flower. It will start to open slightly during the length or life of the arrangement, and we want to place these as the most expensive and the primary flower in the first positions. What I'm going to do is make sure that my flower sits above the greenery in the arrangement, and I'm going to place 1 rose in the center of the foam, and then angling the other roses around it, I'm going to place 3 roses evenly around the first rose. This is how we achieve symmetry in our arrangement and a balance so that all the materials are distributed evenly. So I keep my rose in the center, and then I place 3 roses slightly lower, radiating out below there. Then I can put the next level of roses in, and where I'm going to put those is in between the 2 previous roses, and again slightly angled so it's another level in the arrangement. This way we're going to create some depth at the sides of the arrangement, and what we also want to do when we're arranging our flowers, especially roses, is have a look at the way they grow and make sure that the flower faces upways, so that when the rose opens and unfurls, that the customer can see the beautiful bloom of the rose and they're not looking at the side of the rose. So we achieve that by angling the flowers slightly when we place them down lower in the arrangement, so then the customer can look into the actual bloom of the flower. So we started off with the single rose, supported it with 3 secondary placements, and then 3 placements slightly lower down. What we can then do is to place some of the miniature gerbras into the arrangement. These are our secondary flower, and these are going to stay as they are because they're already bloomed, and they're not going to unfurl are evenly spaced out from each other, and that there's an even space within the arrangement. Also remember to turn your arrangement because this is a sphere or semi-sphere, so we want it to be even from all sides. So you can turn your arrangement around as you place the gerbera flowers in. The other thing with your gerbera flowers is to make sure that you hold the stem down at the base when you're pushing them into the flower foam, because they have a very soft, delicate stem, and both the gerberas and the roses in this arrangement have been support wired. So I'm just going down another level around the edge of the posy bowl with the gerberas, and remember, because they've been support wired, we can manipulate the head of the flower to make sure that it faces outwards and upwards, so we get the best look at the flower and it appears to the customer to be very full of the blooms when they receive the arrangement. We've placed the secondary flower, the gerberas, in amongst the roses, and we're starting to make a rounded shape to the arrangement. The next flower that we're going to place in is the Alstroemeria. I've removed some of the leaves off the florets of the Alstroemeria because these have a tendency to dry quite quickly, and the florets will continue to open and be nice and fresh. So we normally take the leaves away from those to also expose the flowers when they open. I'm going to place these around the top of the arrangement, more over the Senecio placements. So you can see there's lots of placements of 3 within this arrangement, and that's because we like to create triangles within our floral arrangements, because we look to nature where there's lots of 3s and 5s within the plant world, and we mimic this in the placements of our flowers. That way we avoid making squares and rectangles within our arrangements. So the Alstroemeria will help fill in. It's a transitional flower in this arrangement. It helps to fill the gaps in between the primary and the secondary flowers. So we start to get a very full look to the top of the arrangement. We always want to put these flowers in the top third of the arrangement, and the bottom 2/3 are where we'll place some of the chrysanthemum flowers. These are a glasshouse chrysanthemum, and what I'll show you as well is that on some of the stems I've taken off the side blooms, which are long enough to be placed into the oasis individually. So we clean the stem up so that it's only got a few florets or flowers on the top of the flower, and that way we won't overcrowd the arrangement with heavy blooms. We've already got the beautiful roses and the gerberas in our arrangement, so like the Alstroemeria, the chrysanthemums are a transitional flower, and they're just to fill in the gaps between the other more expensive and primary flowers that will continue to open in our arrangement. What I'm going to do now is continue to turn the arrangement as I work on it, and just pick out the spots where I can put some of the chrysanthemum blooms using individual placements where the stems are long enough, and saving the shorter stems for right at the base of the arrangement. Remember, with the spherical shape, the stems at the top will be slightly longer, and you can use the slightly shorter stems around the base of the arrangement to introduce some colour and a little bit of depth in the base. Chrysanthemums are a very long-lasting flower, and you can get a lot of placements off one stem by doing this method of using the individual flower stems to insert into the oasis. So I'm continually turning around, going for the little gaps in between the other flowers to make sure that I don't have any spots that are uneven in the arrangement. I want to make sure that the white is evenly distributed through the arrangement, and I can also put some of the very long florets off the chrysanthemums up into the top of the arrangement just to finish it off. The other thing that we want to do now, once we've got our arrangement almost finished, this is when we want to add any small pieces of viburnum to cover the oasis. Remember, we always need to cover our oasis because it dries out and it will shorten the life of the flowers if it's exposed, and also it's a mechanic, so we don't want the customer to be able to see the mechanics in our radial Posy bowl. We want to ensure that all the oasis is covered, and that's why we put it above the tip of the pot so that we can allow for these side radial placements. You'll notice I'm cutting all the greenery on an angle and placing it nice and deep into the foam so it still will have a drink under the waterline of the pot. Once you've covered all your oasis, you just have a last turn of your arrangement. Make sure that it's even from all the sides. This is the time that we can adjust anything or take any damaged or spent leaves or petals off the flowers or the greeneries. And there we have our radial Posy bowl arrangement.